The lost continent of Atlantis. Are the top 10 hypotheses about Atlantis, the ultimate list. Where could it have been? Royce Kristen reports on Newspunch. Atlantis, and the word alone evokes images of mystery, aliens, crystal skulls, secrets, a myriad of confusion. It was first mentioned by Plato. The story of Atlantis comes to us from Timaeus, a Socratic dialogue written about 360 BC by Plato. And since then, it's evoked thousands of books, films, and studies. But what are the most popular theories on Atlantis? Thankfully, top 10 list brings us just that, the top 10 theories on Atlantis. Of course, Plato also said that just like the island of Rhodes, it sank and came back up again, and then sank and came back up again. And that's what happened to the island of Rhodes in the Aegean Sea, one of the Greek islands. It sank twice and re-rose again out of the waters twice and stayed up, whereas Atlantis sank again and never came back up, which means that there was a tremendous upheaval in the Earth's crust with whole continents and islands going back and forth, down under the sea, back up again. Can you imagine? Islands. And Atlantis never came back up. This is according to Plato. The first theory is Ignatius Donnelly's hypothesis. Considering that the 19th century, the Atlantic Ocean was perceived as a few hundred feet deep, it's perfectly understandable why so many people considered Ignatius Donnelly's theory of Atlantis true. To summarize, since Plato mentioned that Atlantis was located just outside the Pillars of Hercules, or the Strait of Gibraltar, as it's known today, Donnelly's theory suggests that the lost continent could not be located elsewhere than the center of the Atlantic Ocean. Theory 2, Atlantis is a metaphor for the Minoan civilization. That civilization was located in the island of Crete. Crete, that's where the Philistines came from, according to the Old Testament. Now, the newest and progressively more popular theory about the lost city of Atlantis hints that Plato was referring to the catastrophic event that occurred thousands of years before his time in the Mediterranean Sea, namely the devastation of Santorini, the volcanic eruption of the volcano of Santorini, of Thera, as it's known in these days. Volcano. According to geologists, the eruption created huge destruction in the Mediterranean basin, including a gigantic tsunami that brought the Minoan civilization from the Crete island to an end. And number 3, Atlantis' destruction is a reference for the Black Sea flood. The Black Sea was not always the mysteriously quiet sea of today. Its formation takes us back 7,000 years, when the Mediterranean Sea breached through the Bosphorus. That's the area between the Aegean Sea and the Black Sea. That's where Istanbul is, the city of ancient Constantinople. And that is the strait, the Bosphorus Strait. The sea breached through the Bosphorus and flooded a freshwater lake over a rather short period, because it's been proven that there were several flourishing civilizations living around the freshwater lake, and the flooding was rapid. Some scholars suggest that Plato was referring to this terrible event. Number 4. Nowadays, Atlantis is in ice-free Antarctica. Charles Hapgood's theory that the sudden shift of the Earth's crust thousands of years ago sparked the imagination of various Atlantis theories. Consequently, they claim that since the shift also determined the relocation of the continents as we know them today, since it is highly possible that Antarctica was once located in a moderate climate, its transfer to the icy South Pole represents a devastating event similar to the story of Atlantis. On a side note, this hypothesis gradually lost its supporters once the tectonic plate movement was better understood. Number 5, Atlantis and the old continent of Lemuria. Interestingly enough, ancient Greece was not the only civilization mentioning of a great island-bound culture that suddenly and tragically disappeared. In fact, stories and myths of such a civilization are also present in India and the southeastern parts of Asia, cultures that tell the story of a great empire on the continent of Lemuria that supposedly existed somewhere in the Indian Ocean. However, considering that no evidence of geological formations has been found in the Indian Ocean, it is understandable why this hypothesis does not have any supporters. Number 6. Atlantis and the Bermuda Triangle. Numerous conspiracy theorists out there associate the bizarre and enigmatic events occurring in the Bermuda Triangle with the sunken continent of Atlantis. It's important to note that the recent discovery of what appeared to be man-made ruins off the coast of the Bimini Island have conferred this theory more credibly, so don't be so quick to dismiss it. They found pyramids off the coast of Florida. Can you imagine? Now, sunken, of course, in the Atlantic Ocean. Number 7, Atlantis was a nickname for the Indonesian archipelago. The idea that Atlantis could have been what we nowadays know as the Indonesian archipelago is a valid possibility. First off, during the last ice age, the ocean levels were approximately 200 feet lower than they are today, a fact that would imply a significantly larger Indonesia than the archipelago that we know today. Secondly, its geographical location and climate make it an ideal place for an emerging civilization with a rich and advanced culture. And in addition, let's face the fact and the theory stating that the melting of the ice could have covered land and create the Indonesian archipelago of today seems plausible. Number 8, the mythological land of Mu. M-U, Mu. Perhaps one of the most exciting hypotheses regarding Atlantis is that it is a metaphor for the early continent of Mu. While there are some myths about the existence of the great continent of Mu in ancient texts, there is no archaeological evidence to support this. Besides, the claim that the survivors of the great cataclysm of Mu escaped and founded numerous ancient civilizations can easily be contradicted by the diversity and disparity of these cultures. Number 9, the story of Atlantis is purely fictional. There is no denying the fact that the idea of a great flood which almost wiped out the entire globe's population is present in all ancient cultures. In fact, many modern scientists believe that the great massive flood represents a reminiscence of the last ice age, when the ocean levels rose and engulfed immense land masses in the process. However, this event has nothing to do with Atlantis, according to the skeptics. In fact, they are more inclined to think that when Plato was trying to tell his story, he also felt the need to spice things up and add an interesting element to the equation. Number 10, the last theory, the city did not sink but rather flew off the surface of the planet. As with any great mystery of this planet, the story of Atlantis is also associated with the existence of aliens. Some of the more modern conspiracy theorists claim that this vast land did not sink. It was not really a continent to begin with, and according to them, Atlantis was in fact an alien ship that simply took to the skies and left the planet for good after their mission here was completed. And this was based on ancient history and also top 10 list, and it's on News Punch. I'll leave a link below for you for this. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because We help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.